The emergency beacon had been silent for 3 days when Lieutenant Mara Solon finally tracked its source to a collapsed research outpost on Velcor 9. The planet was classified as hostile, Category 4, which meant everything here either wanted to eat you, poison you, or tear you apart for sport. The outpost's remains told a story she'd seen too many times: shattered blast doors, scorch marks from plasma fire, and blood that had long since dried into the dust. She moved through the wreckage with practiced efficiency, her scanner sweeping for survivors. The device chirped once, twice, then held steady. Life signs, small, non-human. Her hand instinctively moved to her sidearm. The signal led her to what had once been a containment lab. The walls were lined with broken stasis pods, their contents either dead or escaped. But in the far corner, huddled beneath an overturned table, she found it, a Rakesh cub. Mara's breath caught. Rakesh were apex predators, 3 meters tall when fully grown, with serrated claws that could punch through starship hull plating and jaws strong enough to crush bone like brittle plastic. They were also highly intelligent, highly territorial, and highly endangered. The Galactic Council had declared them protected, which meant this outpost had been operating illegally. The cub was small, barely the size of a large dog, its obsidian scales dulled by malnutrition. Its eyes, 6 of them arranged in pairs along its elongated skull, tracked her movement with the focused intensity of a born hunter. It was terrified. Easy, Mara whispered, lowering herself to a crouch. She kept her hands visible, her body language open. I'm not going to hurt you. The cub's lips peeled back, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. A low growl rumbled from its chest, a sound that would have sent most species running. But Mara had grown up on a farm colony where the livestock were genetically modified megafauna. She knew fear when she saw it, regardless of how many teeth it wore. She slowly removed her glove, exposing her bare hand to the recycled air. It was a calculated risk. Rakesh had an extraordinary sense of smell. They could detect pheromones, hormones, even the chemical signatures of intent. Her hand would tell the cub what her words could not. She meant no harm. The growling intensified, but the cub didn't retreat. Its nostrils flared, sampling her scent. Mara remained perfectly still, her hand extended at chest level, palm up. Minutes passed. Her arm began to ache, but she didn't move. Then, with a hesitance that broke something in her chest, the cub crept forward. Its movements were jerky, uncertain. Its body coiled to flee at the slightest provocation. It sniffed her fingers, its breath hot and rapid against her skin. And then it lunged. Mara's training screamed at her to react, but she forced herself to remain motionless. The cub's jaws clamped down, not on her hand, but on her glove, which had fallen to the floor beside her. It snatched the glove up and retreated, clutching it like a prize. She almost laughed. Almost. Okay, she said softly. You can keep that. The cub settled back into its corner, the glove clutched between its forepaws. But its eyes never left her. Slowly, Mara reached into her pack and pulled out a ration bar. She broke off a piece and tossed it gently toward the cub. It flinched, then sniffed the offering. A long forked tongue flicked out, tasting the air. Then in one swift motion it devoured the piece whole. Mara tossed another. And another. Each time the cub inched closer. By the time the ration bar was gone, Rakesh was less than a meter away, the glove still clutched in its jaws like a security blanket. Mara extended her bare hand again, moving with agonizing slowness. The cub watched her, its head tilting in a gesture that was almost curious. Then, without warning, it dropped the glove and pressed its snout against her palm. The texture was unexpected, smooth scales over powerful muscle, warm and alive. Mara felt the vibration of another growl, but this one was different, softer, less threat, more communication. Yeah, she murmured. I see you too. She raised her hand slowly, testing. The cub followed, its jaws opening slightly as it gripped the edge of her sleeve. Not biting, just holding on. When her hand reached shoulder height, Rakesh hung there, suspended by its grip on her uniform, all 4 legs dangling in the air. It growled softly, a sound that rumbled through her bones. Mara didn't move. Didn't breathe. The cub weighed at least 20 kilos and its claws were inches from her throat. One wrong move, one sudden noise, and those claws would deploy on instinct. But she understood something in that moment that the researchers in this outpost never had. Rakesh weren't just predators. They were survivors, and this cub had watched its captors die, had hidden in the dark while the facility tore itself apart, had been alone for days in a place that reeked of death and fear. It wasn't trying to attack her. It was trying to hold on. "I've got you," Mara said, her voice steady despite the weight pulling on her arm. "I've got you, little one." She slowly lowered her hand and the cub released its grip, dropping back to all fours. But it didn't retreat. Instead, it pressed against her leg, the growl fading to a low purr-like vibration. Mara carefully retrieved her glove from the floor and tucked it into her pack. Then she stood, testing whether the cub would follow. It did, staying close to her side as she made her way back through the ruined outpost. The extraction shuttle was waiting outside, its engines humming in standby mode. Mara climbed aboard and Rakesh followed without hesitation. As the shuttle lifted off, leaving Velcor 9's hostile surface behind, the cub curled up beside her seat, its eyes finally closing. Mara activated her comm. "Command, this is Lieutenant Solon. Mission status: 1 survivor recovered. Requesting immediate contact with Galactic Wildlife Conservation. We have a passenger who needs special care. There would be questions, of course. Reports to file, protocols to navigate." But as she looked down at the sleeping cub, its chest rising and falling with the steady rhythm of trust, she knew one thing with absolute certainty. Humanity had not earned its reputation among the stars through superior weapons or faster ships. They had earned it through something far more dangerous: the stubborn, irrational refusal to leave anyone behind. Even the ones with claws, especially the ones with claws,